Yo, what is up everyone? This is OJ over here from PlayerEssence, bringing you the latest Final Fantasy and RPG news today. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Final Fantasy 15 is launching this year on September 30th, and the franchise as a whole had a little bit of a rough stretch over the past 5 or 6 years, starting with the PlayStation 3. Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata has given some insight on how the Final Fantasy series was actually heading when he first started taking up Final Fantasy 15. And he was actually quoted by Game Informer by saying that in 2012, he found and considered the IP to be dying and that had already peaked. And that really paints a really grave situation. For Tabata, he said that the series was always defined by these 3 core concepts and has failed to meet them since the 1990s. 1, a willingness to challenge the status quo. 2, an exceptional, out-of-the-ordinary experience. And 3, a cutting-edge technology that use the hardware to its fullest. Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, and Lightning's Returns pretty much pushed the PS3 to its limits. I don't know if you can get much better than what they've done on the PS3, considering how big the games are, rendering the worlds, all that stuff. It would be hard to do more than what they did graphically. Compared to other RPGs on PS3, I think it was very good. But an exceptional, out-of-the-ordinary experience, no. Final Fantasy 13 series was not that. A willingness to challenge the status quo. That kind of happened, to be honest, with Final Fantasy 13, but in a bad way. Because it was more linear, there wasn't as much stuff to do. The status quo is big open worlds, bunch of different towns, different side quests, all those things. Final Fantasy 13 said, no, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna give more of a guided experience until you got to a Grand Pulse. And that didn't go over well. So the only thing really, which is I think the biggest thing, is an exceptional, out of the ordinary experience. And I think that's what Final Fantasy has always been. Final Fantasy has always been a series that when you play that type of game, there's really nothing else like it. There's no other game that would stack up to the type of stuff that Final Fantasy would do. For example, Final Fantasy 6 or Final Fantasy 3 in America, that's still regarded as one of the best games ever made. And I remember flying in that airship. I remember going around in that Mode 7 graphics in that airship saying, what other way, what other game can you do something this cool? And like there's like the optional bosses and there was all this different stuff that you could do that I really never saw in other games all put together. So I would say that's the biggest thing that Final Fantasy has been missing, an exceptional, out of the ordinary experience. Now it's harder and harder to do that as you get further and further along. People come and innovate. There's been all sorts of stuff since Final Fantasy was in its, I guess, heyday, as you would call it, in the 90s. There's been all sorts of things, all sorts of games that have came and made great use of technology, thought of innovative new things in gaming. But Final Fantasy 15 has the opportunity, because not only is it pushing RPGs as far as how it looks, so as far as cutting edge technology using the hardware to its fullest, yeah, this is the best looking Japanese RPG I've seen on the PS4 to this point. But I definitely think they got the cutting edge stuff down. The willingness to challenge status quo. Well, it's an all dudes in a party, so that's usually different from most Japanese RPGs. And you have a car that can fly, that's kind of different. So we're gonna have to wait and see on the other stuff as far as challenging the status quo. And an exceptional, out of the ordinary experience. So this is probably gonna be the hardest thing, because like I said, there's been so many games that have came and done things, but there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity just because it's the PS4, it's the Xbox One, it's a new generation. There's still many things that Japanese developers have not done on these new systems. So Final Fantasy 15 could technically be the first as far as a major big Japanese RPG to really deliver that experience that we had growing up as kids playing Final Fantasy. Now, will it be an exceptional, out of the ordinary experience? Who knows, but I'm looking forward to finding out myself. Alright guys, so that wraps it up for this one here. Make sure you hit that like button if you did like it. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for more news, reviews, trailers, tips and tricks, and Final Fantasy. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next video. Peace.